Hello!
Hello!
Welcome to Whyte Noise.
And we're back. I know we've had a few breaks here, a few pauses for the holidays, if you will.
Holidays and illnesses. I got the bronchitis thing. You had neurovirus. You were more on trend than me.
What can I say? It's very rare for me, so...
Please. And today we have a fabulous guest judge. It is none other than my dear friend Caroline. Caroline, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for asking me. I'm delighted.
We go back all the way to like middle school.
I know, it's wild.
We go back, what, a year?
I get
But it's been a meaningful year.
Yes.
beginning of 2024.
It's not about time, it's about substance.
That's right. We've spent many a wonderful evening together. There you go.
Although, admittedly, I do think I knew about you many years before. So
Oh, that's lovely.
that was like
Aw.
when we finally met. It was like one of these like overdue moments. So.
Likewise, I have to say the same. Yeah, I feel like I had heard many stories about you and the animals and James.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. You both are surrounded by pets, and I'm just here in a cold apartment.
Wait, you guys, I really just quickly have to say something. Did you, I don't know why I feel so strongly about this. I saw A Better Man last night. Have you heard about this movie?
No,
No.
which one is that?
This is the movie about Robbie Williams, the like British pop star who it's a biopic, but he is played by a CGI chimpanzee.
Yes.
It's delightful. Just so good. Anyway, just go see it. It's so good.
I had the absolute hots for Robbie Williams.
Do you really?
Oh,
my
I thought he
God.
was so odd. And then, oddly enough, YouTube offered up maybe 2 nights ago excerpts from the Graham Norton show of Robbie Williams telling life stories, and he gets in so much trouble for just the random shit that he says. And I apparently he was talking about his wife's the first child, and they were like, "Oh, which side of the curtain did you stand on?" And he's like, "Oh, I saw the full thing." And Graham Norton is like, "What did you think?" And he just kind of goes for a second, and he goes, "I don't know. It kind of felt like my favorite pub burning down."
Oh.
And then there was like a follow-up, and they're like, "Did that make your wife Ida mad?" And he was like, "Yeah, no, I really got in trouble for saying that one."
As
Yep.
you should. It was so good. It was just lovely. It was so different. I really enjoyed it. But I
I'll
feel
watch
like
it
you
now.
guys, it was really worth it. And I feel like you can see movies at home very quickly nowadays, but that I really enjoyed going to the movies for. So
Do you have a favorite Robbie Williams song? Mine's Millennium.
Millennium. Okay. I think I really like Rock DJ is fun.
Oh, that's a classic.
That's a fun one, right? I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would go with that. So anyway.
They haven't made a Broadway musical about him yet, so I don't know.
But that's the thing. No, it's a whole thing about how he doesn't have the same fame in the United States as he does in the UK. I mean, he is the most popular pop artist in the UK. He has won more awards than anybody. He is so acclaimed. But in the US, no one knows who he is. Well, not no one, but like very few people do.
He bypassed Elvis in the UK, which was a big deal. Yep.
Huge.
Wow.
Yeah. So I just feel like it's such a mystery, like how some people can like break that barrier and then some can't. I find it really interesting.
He also told this story. I think is the Ivy. Is that the really fancy restaurant where celebrities go to be seen? Like they get out of the car and
Yes.
paparazzi wait for them.
Yeah.
And he was saying that in LA, they don't really know who he is. And he hops out of the car and the paparazzi all kind of pause and just kind of stare. And he goes, I pulled up and I'm like, oh God, the paparazzi, like, I really don't want to deal with this. And then he's like, there was this weird dichotomy of suddenly standing there and being like, this is bullshit. How do they not know who I am? Yeah. And then he goes, I go to walk in the restaurant. And he goes, finally, somebody behind me goes, Bobby. And he's like, and they all start taking photos. And I'm like,
Sorry, Michael. We'll jump to it. Yeah.
Caroline, you managed to hit like a real perfect note for me. I literally,
I'm just listening. I'm learning so much. Caroline, you win.
Well, hey, I feel like this was a bit of serendipity.
Yes. What?
What?
Okay. So, Caroline, what you don't know, just in case you are unfamiliar. So each episode, Ryan and I are given a word or something from our previous judge that we then have to research, or in my case, usually not research, and then discuss for 10 minutes each. At the end of it, you choose a winner.
And then big pressure, you have to come up with the next word.
The next word for next week.
Don't let that distract you, though. You've got to really focus.
No, but if you do screw it up, I mean, my God. I won't even discuss the consequences. Yeah, so this week's word is serendipity.
Oh, I love that.
And you also get to pick who goes first.
Okay. I am going to let Ryan go first.
Cool.
Groovy. Okay, Ryan, let me know when you're ready.
Okay, I'm ready.
Your time starts now.
It was funny. I kind of got into the topic and I'm like, I have no idea where I'm going to go with this. And I was like, I could look into like the word. And then I thought about the restaurant. And then oddly enough, it's in my straight dating days, it's where I used to take first dates.
I love it.
Because surprise. And, I kind of like, I started to kind of self-reflect and I'm like, am I serendipitous? Really? And, I was kind of thinking about it like on a scale of 10, where do I fall? Like a 1 being, I think, the opposite of serendipity would probably be very controlling, right? And then I would say the extreme of serendipity would be at a 10 would probably be aimless, right? So in other words, you just kind of go with the wind, if you will. And I think at the end of the day, I fall into like a 5. I think I'm like a 5 on the serendipity scale because I think I kind of like operate with purpose. But once I land where I want to be, I kind of place myself in that situation and tend to like let it happen. And oddly enough, I think through my life, I've kind of aspired to be a bit more aimless or a little bit more serendipitous. And I think, and actually where I'm going with this is I think I've intentionally placed myself in situations to have serendipitous moments or serendipitous experiences and kind of like, create the stories or create the experience. But I was going to ask both of you if you thought about serendipity on a scale like I just did, where do you think you fall?
I don't know. What's the actual definition of serendipity? I feel like it's one of those words we throw around, but now that I'm thinking about it, what's the actual?
So I used the good old Chat GPT to help me out with this morning.
Okay.
And it says, serendipity is often described as the occurrence of events by chance in a happy or beneficial way. It involves unexpectedly discovering something valuable, meaningful, or delightful when you weren't actively searching for it. So unexpected discovery, positive outcomes, prepared mind. Luck favors a prepared mind, for example. Historic examples are the finding of penicillin, so Alexander Fleming, and Post-it notes by Dr. Spencer Silver, where, they went into the situation looking for something and ended up finding something else that was actually really positive. So was that helpful?
Yes. Caroline, where do you fall, you think?
I can't tell whether or not serendipity is like, it's almost like it's openness to be to right, like to being able to find the good in things, right? Like you have to be open. I think I would probably fall on the scale of being not so serendipitous because I feel like I'm pretty regimented in what I do, and like my daily routines and everything. And I think that's actually something I'm working on is like trying to just be like more open to like, okay, if everything doesn't go according to plan, what is, you have to find the good things and you can't just be focused on the outcome. And sometimes I think I get stuck in that. And I'm just like, oh, nope, this isn't what I was expecting. So I need to like, change course, where sometimes you kind of just have to let life unfold and find the good, find the penicillin when you weren't expecting to find penicillin.
Caroline, you sound a little bit like me, if I'm being honest. Yeah.
It's really easy to just be like, okay, I need this outcome from these actions. And I'm definitely like that, I think.
Oh, I feel like I'm probably like an 8. I'm definitely like just walking through life and I'm just like, what's going to happen next?
I was thinking about this morning, Michael, and I was like, you by far have some of the most beautiful serendipity that I'm personally aware of. Like, and the thing is, I think it's, and I was thinking about it, I'm like, why is this? And I think it's just because of the wonderful person that you are. I think you invite it in.
100%.
Well, I think what you were saying, I thought, Caroline, you were going to say it's almost like a mindset.
It
And
is,
I think I think you're right. It's just sort of, it's being like, it's taking a circumstance, and I could be wrong, but taking a circumstance and being like, well, that happened, but what did I, sort of finding that. And I think sometimes I'm too wide-eyed, hopeful, optimistic. Sometimes it's like to a fault.
Well, so where this kind of led me is I was like, okay, and I thought I was going to struggle with this, but then suddenly it dawned on me. I'm like, where have I lived a bit more serendipitously in my life? And I suddenly thought about all the time that I spent in India.
Say more.
Oh, spent. I thought you said that you spit in India.
Spit in India?
And I was like, why were you spitting while you were there? And why was that serendipitous?
So I kind of have 3 different stories, and I'm gonna let you two pick the poison here.
Okay.
I can either talk about shitting the bed,
Literally?
exposing myself to my coworkers, or getting abandoned by my boss, or I can attempt to cross through all 3.
Like literally shitting the bed?
Like literally shitting the bed.
Like shitting the bed.
Accidentally exposing myself to my coworkers, and then being abandoned by my boss there.
I need to know how your boss abandoned you. That's hilarious.
What's my time, Michael? Just so I'm framing here.
You only have 2 minutes and 50 seconds.
This is about 5 to 6 years ago, and there was a build out of a team in Pune, India, and they were like, we need somebody to go be there and be a part of the build out. We're going to need you there on a regular basis. I got a 5-year visa to be there.
Oh, wow.
In the course of 1 year, I was probably in India around a total of 4 months, and it spanned from anywhere from 6 weeks at a time to 2 weeks at a time. The thing that I went out there to build wasn't the best. It was just, it was a bad situation where the team just could not be successful. And I kind of ultimately recommended that we needed to shut this thing down. It's not useful. We should have these people doing something else. But in the final trip that I was supposed to take out there, I was supposed to hand my job off to a new chief data officer of India, right? Mm-hmm. And I had already been there 2 weeks. Okay. I had been there 2 weeks, and the team was struggling, and on top of it all, I left and I was like, guys, like, these are the simple things that you need to do. I love you all, but I'm going to be honest with you. I think I'm going to come back in a week from a vacation, and you guys are going to have screwed it all up. So this kind of plays into this overall outcome. I leave to go home so that I can go on a ski trip. I go out to Utah, and my boss, prior to going on this trip, says, I need you to be back that week after your vacation. So I left my Utah vacation early. I flew over 36 hours from Utah to India to get there. And I got there on a Monday night, with the Tuesday morning being like, okay, this is going to be over. There's going to be no more. I'm not going to be doing this anymore. I'm over it. I arrive at the office. I cannot find this individual. I call the executive admin. I call this person. I call that person. Does not exist. And I'm now in India for 2 weeks again. So I finally call recruiting, and I'm like, hey, where is this dude? And yeah. They're like, oh, Gary didn't tell you? He didn't join. And I went,
oh no.
I went, what? And so I send Gary an email, and I'm like, hey, Gary,
fuck
it's
Gary.
Fuck Gary. I write, and I'm like, hey, it's my understanding that so-and-so isn't joining. He writes back, you'd be correct. Oh. That's all I get. I'm on full-on meltdown, and I reach out to one of my peers, and they're like, I don't think he even realizes you're there.
Oh, he didn't know you had come back.
And I was like, what do you mean? We did this all together. I left my fucking vacation early. I missed a powder day. Oh, to be here for this. So I'm probably at time, if not
You
over.
are at time, but if you want to say how this became a serendipitous moment, then I say go for it.
Well, so the part, actually the serendipity of the whole thing was that like this shit just kind of happened and I just had to roll with it and I just had to figure out how to make it work. And like, in other words, all of this stuff while I was there was so out of my control. And that's kind of what made India itself serendipitous. Now, that being said, like, oh my God, it was like, I couldn't have been more upset, more hurt, but I'll tell you what, I learned a lot from it.
100%.
I also learned what my boundaries were at work and like what I should and should not deal with, and like being able to say no and essentially kind of stand up for myself.
How long did you have to stay there for?
Another 2 weeks. I was there for another 2 weeks. And by the way, that team of mine screwed up exactly what
you
I
said they would.
had doing. I had this lady who worked for me that same week who had a fight with one of my staff, and it turned into this big thing between the staffing company and the bank that I worked for. And I asked the woman to apologize, and she told me absolutely not.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it was, I ended up like the Friday night of the first week that I was there, I went to the bar. I got absolutely shit-faced.
As anyone would.
Got so upset about the whole situation that I went back to my room. I called my father and cried.
Oh
my God.
And I was like, I was forgotten about in fucking India. I left my vacation earlier. My team is trying to kill each other. And I'm like, I just don't want to be here.
Oh.
But it was that following week that I was like, this is bullshit. We need to shut it down. And they agreed. And that's what happened.
That's an amazing story, because I think it just shows, like, in that moment, you could have just been like, sorry, I'm leaving. This is not, like, you don't have to deal with this. But you did. You stuck it out. That's pretty amazing.
I made the best of it.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Michael, you're next.
My turn. Also, Caroline, I love that we're doing this while you're on your way to a class. So part of this is going to be, just for friends listening, Caroline is literally walking out the door and going to get in an Uber. So you're going to hear the sounds of New York.
Yeah, everyone's coming with me.
I appreciate that you're taking us on the go with you.
Yeah, it's great. It's great.
Are you ready?
Sure.
Set and go.
Okay. So when as we've established, I only had a vague knowledge of what serendipity meant. So the first thing that pops into my head when I hear serendipity, which, we usually do first thing, is the movie Serendipity, which I mentioned this on the last episode. So it ends with this beautiful shot of people ice skating in Central Park. A friend of mine was one of those extras, and it turns out they shot it when it was warm and there was no ice. So they painted wood and they're roller skating.
This also ties back. This ties back to a prior podcast.
About rollers. This came up when we talked about roller skates. But yeah, they're roller skating. They hired ballet dancers who all lied and said they could roller skate. Yeah, or rollerblade.
It's like Funny Girl.
It's exactly like Funny Girl. We both love that movie. So that was the first thing it made me think of. The other thing is, okay, and this is why I messaged you guys. I have to pull up my notes. So when I hear the word serendipity too, it's just, I feel like one of those words that's just fun to say. Like, it sounds like a little dance, right? Like, I picture like a little kid in lederhosen tripping down the road carrying a jug of milk, His name's Rolf, and he just milks a cow, and now he's carrying it down the road and going dippity, dippity, dippity down the road. That is, to me, serendipity.
I love it.
Also, just to note, friends, Caroline just got in her Uber. It's okay.
Door just closed. You might have heard it click.
So I was wondering, is there a word for those? So I didn't actually look up what serendipity meant, but I did look up the feeling that you get. So it's euphonious, if people don't know that word. A term for words that are pleasing to say. They are euphonious. And I think they really are indeed. And it's the opposite of cacophonous, which is interesting, which certain words are associated with, like a cacophony, but like the way you say them. So bad, evil.
Oh, okay.
But euphonious words are ones that are pleasant to say. And also there was a whole study on, words that we sort of like enjoy saying as to words that we don't. Obviously, like moist is collectively the least popular word in the English language. But the answer they came up with, the term is mouthfeel. So what is the mouthfeel of a word? It's compared to wine tasting, Things that are words that are rounded and velvety, you know, are good to say. Like the way these people talk about words, the way you experience them, they really made it sound like it was like a wine tasting. Like, what's the mouth feel of a word? Velour has really good mouth feel.
I like this.
Yeah, wow. It's like you feel like a really intellectual toddler. Like they put objects in their mouth. We grow up and we get words. So then that led me to fun things that are to say. Like serendipity to me is like fun. It's sort of like a joyous, bouncy thing. And that led me to tongue twisters because those are fun to say. Actually, wait, before I get into that, do you guys what are some words that pop up for you that you're like, this is just a fun one to say? Like, I love superfluous. I love saying that word.
Shopping. I love saying that word. Oh, yeah.
But as I said, that got me into tongue twisters, which I love. So I Googled classic tongue twisters, and I've sent them to you. I don't know if you want to attempt to do them, but I also have a little bit of the history behind them. So the first one, the most famous tongue twister of all time, obviously is Peter Piper. I don't know if either of you would like to take Peter Piper and give it a whirl.
Okay, so you want me to just say it?
Yes, I sent you the words.
Okay, here it is.
If you can, as fast as you can.
Oof, wow, okay. And is the goal, and then don't mess up. That's the goal here.
That's the goal.
Okay, all right, okay. All right, ready? Here I go. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. A peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked. If Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers, where's the peck of pickled peppers Peter Piper picked?
Well done. That was beautifully done. No mistakes. And Peter Piper so famously pickled his peppers. He first pickled his peppers in 1813 in John Harris's Peter Piper's Practical Principles of Plain and Perfect Pronunciation.
Sorry, did you say that? Is that the origin of these? Like they're intended
it's from this guy's book, Peter Piper's Practical Principles of Plain and Perfect Pronunciation.
So is Peter Piper the original? Is he like the OG?
I think he was just the most popular.
Interesting.
But yeah, that was a big one.
But what about Betty Botter? Was that his wife?
Oh, I don't know.
Were they married?
That. The seashore seashells.
It's the soft. I think it's interesting. I think it's like if it's a hard sound, it's like almost better to you can control it. But those softer seashells on the seashore, it's hard.
That one's tough. So okay, so the next most famous one of all time is obviously the woodchuck one.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood?
Great, that one's pretty easy. That's a good one. That probably predates her, but it became famous when vaudeville performer Faye Templeton put it in part of her act. It was in her chorus number that she sang in 1903, and then in the Broadway musical The Runaways. So that's been around since like ragtime, but it was made famous, by the vaudeville performer Faye Templeton. Next one. I don't know this one. This one's kind of long. Betty Botter and Two Tutors. I don't know, Karen, if you want to take a stab or I can take a turn. This one's weird and long. Here, I'll do it. I won't make you do it. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said, this butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. But a bit o' butter, oh no, I already failed. But a bit o' better butter will make my batter better. Then she bought a bit o' butter better than the bitter butter, made her bitter batter better. So 'twas better Betty Botter bought a bit o' better butter.
That one's hard.
Apparently, it's with another one. A tutor who tooted the flute tried to teach two young tutors to toot. Said the toot to the tutor, it's harder to toot, or two to tutors to toot.
Wow.
Woo!
Wow.
That's included in Mother Goose's Nursery Rhymes, which was written in the late 1890s by novelist Carolyn Wells.
That's fascinating.
So there's one more, is the one we just talked about, is the seashells.
She sells seashells on the seashore. The shells she sells are she shells, I'm sure. And she sells seashells on the seashore, then I'm sure she sells seashore shells.
It's like you're listening to it so hard it loses its meaning.
I was like, I don't even know what I just said. Was that another language?
But probably. So that was written in the late 19th century by English paleontologist Mary Anning, who was also an impressive fossil hunter. and is credited with many scientific achievements, though her male counterparts frustratingly swiped the credit from her. But she was one of the first to identify fossilized poop.
Oh.
So this goes back to the shitting the bed story that we will hear at some point.
At some point. That poop was not fossilized.
So how fun
so you know.
But how fun that the seashells tongue twister is written by a paleontologist who never got her due. Poor Mary Anning. Okay, this last one I think is interesting because it's not necessarily a tongue twister. This was created by scientists to create what they consider the most difficult sentence to say. It was created by MIT researchers in 2013, and they declared it the world's trickiest tongue twister. If either of you want to take a crack at it.
Okay. I mean, because when I look at it's so interesting.
tough.
So like people can't see this, but when you
barely
look
makes
at it
sense.
written, it doesn't seem difficult.
Uh-huh.
But okay, in my brain, I'm saying it in my mind, and I'm also like, this is fine. But let's see when you. Wow, this is fascinating. Okay, ready?
Okay.
Tad kid poured curd, pulled cod.
Oh, and there's time. We got it just in time. Pad kid poured curd pulled cod. Try and say it quickly.
Okay. Tad kid poured curd, pulled cod.
Oh, you can do it. Oh, well,
Nice.
MIT would be very proud.
Yeah, Pad Kid poured curd. Oh, Pad Kid poured curd, pulled
Tad
cod.
kid poured curd, pulled cod.
Oh, Caroline, you're very good at this.
Is Pad Kid anything like Pad Thai?
I don't know what Pad Kid and why he's pouring curd pulled cod, but MIT decided that was it, and they were very proud of themselves. They said it's deceptively harder than things like ice cream for ice cream or the woodchuck.
I wonder if I would feel like we could really dig into this, but it's like, is it because those sounds, it's got to be something about your brain's ability or like our frequency of putting those sounds together right after each other, right? Or like,
I
like
think
the-
so.
you're-
Yeah, I think like poured curd pulled cod. You want to change into like poured cold purred cod.
yeah.
Like, you know. So, and then a bonus one on here, which I was going to throw in just because, anyway, the bonus one that's included that we didn't say is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, which in the film she famously says backwards, dociasalixpiasticfragicalirupus, which is just switching chunks of it. And then if you actually do it backwards, like in the musical, sooctalips exasiligarphilocrepus.
Wow, Michael.
But I can only do that because I'm a big Mary Poppins nerd.
I'm very impressed with
so
that.
that is all what Serendipity made me think of.
Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, very cool.
Very cool.
All right, Caroline, the time hath approached. You must now choose a winner.
This is really hard. No, and I'll tell you why this is so hard. Because I think one is such a Brian, it's personal. You really thought about like what meant for you. And then Michael, he really researched this one. He really went in.
No, which I never
deep
do.
dive.
By the way, we kind of
We swapped?
yeah.
No,
It's usually the other way
How
around.
serendipitous.
And I also have to comment, I feel like we had a lot of circular moments in this conversation where we referenced other things. You guys referenced other things. It's very cool. Because the task is that you have to pick something, look into it, and then bring it back to the table. I'm going to go with Michael just because I learned a lot.
I did not just win for pulling a riot.
You did. It's very interesting. I feel
Watch,
like I want to
I'm-
go talk to a linguist now.
I'm going to be on an epic losing streak now.
But I know, I never won, Caroline. And then I won the last episode before the holiday break. So I'm thrilled. Thank you.
Congrats.
Cheers, Michael. I'm very happy for you.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. I literally just stole your tactics this time. So, Caroline, what is our word for next week? Or phrase or thing, whatever pops into your head.
Okay. My word is showmanship.
Ooh.
Showmanship. Okay.
Showmanship.
That's a word, right?
Right. It
Sweet.
is most certainly.
Okay.
If it wasn't,
like,
it
what did
is
I invent?
now.
Yeah, that's your word, showmanship.
I would tell you if I had to pick a word for my week, it would be barf. So I'm really happy yours is showmanship.
Yeah. We won't make you relive or talk about any of your neurovirus experiences. Don't worry.
No, that should be left in the past. Yeah, no fun.
Unless your showmanship is like, it makes me think of my intestines who showed up. And we're showing off, really.
Or like, I bet you my barf was better than anyone else's.
There you go. I won at barfing.
It's more of a yell barf, really.
Why does that make me think of Alphaba, but the morning after? She's like, ah!